I screamed my lungs out as I saw my dear husband lying on the bathroom floor. His nose was bleeding and bruises were visible all over his body. He just came home from a 1 month business trip, and I could still remember he was having a fever as he traveled to the States. And now he was lying unconscious. I immediately checked on his pulse and I panicked when it beat so slow. I started to call the ambulance, and in one instance they came. I cried my heart out as I saw my husband being carried by a stretcher. The medical staff were all surrounding him, checking his vitals and injecting IVs into his arms. I couldn't bear to witness this situation. He is my rock and my hero, and I couldn't afford to lose him this early. I have always told him to have his health checked because I have been noticing changes in his condition. He started to have dark bruises all around his body, and he is constantly having high fever, which concerns me the most. I even insisted on letting him stay at home and not attend their business, but he kept on telling me that it is needed for his promotion, and it is something I cannot argue with him. Because my husband Donald is a very workaholic man. He never lived a day being unproductive. He would constantly work and work until he burned out. But he told me that it is his passion and he loves working to support us, his family, and to allow himself to grow in his career. And as a loving spouse, I supported and took care of him because I want all the best for him. Because I can attest to his goodness. He takes care of me. He loves me more than I could ever imagine. And he protects me at all costs. Now it breaks my heart to see him suffering in pain. Whatever it is that he's feeling right now, I want to take it away from him. As soon as we got to the hospital, he was rushed to the emergency room. I could see the doctors' worried faces as they checked on him. I am so worried about what the doctor's diagnosis will be. But I have to be strong for him because I know that he will get through this. After a few moments, I heard a loud banter coming from the hallway. I recognized the voice immediately and I started to have a panic attack. Her voice was so loud and I was so angry. My heart started to beat so fast as if a familiar traumatic experience was building in my heart. The voice started to become more audible until I saw her. My mother-in-law, Sheena, with my sister-in-law, Lori. Both of them are heading in our direction, mad and frustrated. As soon as Sheena saw me, I could tell that her face fumed with madness. She came near me and slapped me so hard that the impact echoed throughout the hallway. Everyone gasped, all their heads turned towards us and started to murmur. My cheeks numbed in pain. My sister-in-law Laurie slapped me on the other side again, and this time people started to gather around us. "What happened to my son? What did you do to him?" I could feel my head throbbing and the burning sensation on my cheeks. I couldn't believe they were asking me this question. I didn't do anything. "Liar! My brother got hospitalized because of your responsibility." "That is not my fault. You knew all too well that I played my part as his wife." "Oh, do shut up, witch. If anything happens to my son, I will blame you for everything." She rolled her eyes at me and proceeded to walk towards the reception area again. She kept on asking about the operation. All eyes were fixed on me. I feel so ashamed of what she did. I was so helpless, and it felt like everyone in the room was judging me. Then I heard Lori whispering to her mother. It was not even a whisper to begin with. "Mom, what will happen now? I still have to go to Bali to meet up with my boyfriend. Donald is in a critical condition. All of their money will be used in his operation." Laurie depicted a frustrated and panicking reaction. My heart breaks from what I heard. The two of them are always controlling our finances. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law both feel like they're living a billionaire's life as they lavish and use our hard-earned money for their good. That is why my husband has to constantly work day and night just to sustain and provide for their curated lifestyle. And now they still have the guts and audacity to think about themselves and to use the money intended for my husband's recovery. They are more than selfish. "Don't worry, love, we will make a way. You will get to Bali and meet the love of your life." I fear for my husband and his condition. This has happened before as well. When I needed money for the injury that I acquired at work, my husband was out on another business trip at that time, so my mother-in-law had control over my husband's credit card instead of me because she insisted on doing so. That's why I wasn't able to get admitted immediately because I wasn't able to pay for my therapy. I begged her to help me and to give me some money because, after all, it is my hard-earned money. I worked hard for it and she will just have full control over it? I felt so helpless because she even threatened to hurt me if I told my husband about my injury. And then I discovered that Sheena allowed Lori to use all the money for her birthday party. They threw out an extravagant and glamorous party using my money while I was fighting for my life in the hospital. It was a very traumatic experience for me, and I don't want my husband to experience it as well. That experience alerted me to check on our bank account quickly, but as soon as I checked it, my heart shattered into pieces. The money was transferred to another account and it is Lori's. This is so mad. Why are they doing this to us while my husband was still on his 6-hour operation? I confronted them, and while I was approaching them, there were no signs of any concern or any remorse for my husband. And the worst and the most inhumane thing that they did was that they were even counting the money they just withdrew from my husband and my bank account. I wanted to slap them right there and then. I also want to shout at them and ask them how cruel they can be. They are ruthless and insensitive. It feels like they have no love for their family, their blood, and everything makes sense because there was a time when I overheard them talking about Donald being an adopted child. They don't see Donald as he is, a loving son and a kind person. They have always mistreated him, tormenting him that adopting him was a bad idea because they blamed him for the reason why their family was broken. After all, Sheena's husband divorced her, but it is due to her bad attitude, and Donald has always been so sickly since birth. Now, as we grow older, he has a different illness, and I struggle to provide him with the care he deserved because our limited resources were being squandered by my selfish sister-in-law and enabling mother-in-law who indulged their every whim while my husband suffered. Their insatiable desires left me helpless, unable to give Donald the best possible care. It was a constant reminder of how little I mattered in their eyes. And look at this right now, it got worse. I feel so sorry for my husband. I want to fight for him. I approached them and asked for the money they stole. Yes, they stole it. I will label it like that. I know you withdraw all the money from our bank account. Please, I need it back for Donald's medical expenses. Sheena just gave me an offended look. Excuse me? My son owns this money and he makes this for us, so we will use it as much as we please. And for goodness sake, he is your husband. Pay for his hospital bills instead. Do you expect my son to pay his bills? What's your role then? I closed my eyes to contain my anger. Please, he's your son. It's our shared account and all my money was in there too. Help us. She just laughed at me. Well, that's not my problem. I ruffled my hair in frustration. This is so crazy. What will you do with the money then? Have you seen your son suffering in the operating room? She rolled her eyes at me. Of course, I'm not blind, and besides, it's not that fatal anyway. He will get through it. Laurie needs the money more. My jaw dropped out of disbelief. I never thought a heartless mother like her would exist. I just couldn't believe it. And then the doctor suddenly went out of the operating room with a concerned face. He immediately looked for Donald's family and I stepped in.
He's in a very critical condition. We found lots of cancer cells in his skin and it is dividing fast. They are slowly consuming the entire body. We need bags of type AB- blood within an hour or we will lose him.
I gasped in shock that I almost collapsed to the floor, but the doctor held me.
I am sorry, we are doing our best now.
I couldn't contain all the information that he told me. My mind floats and I couldn't comprehend what is happening. I am so weak and out of focus. Please, doctor, do everything to save my husband. The doctor nodded and tapped my shoulder.
Be strong for him.
After that, he went back to the operating room, and I was left there crying with my heart filled with longing and anxiety. 2 hours later, the doctor came out again and announced that my husband was gone. I broke down in the hospital hallway and cried my heart out. My husband is dead. Doctor, is my son dead? My mother-in-law asked with no hint of concern.
Yes, madam, I am so sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry. I have accepted it since the start. The doctor was taken aback by her response. By the way, where can we ask for his last will? I seriously wanted to slap her because of her rudeness, but the doctor answered her first.
I don't know what's wrong with you, madam, but your son is dead, and I think it's improper to talk about claiming his property rights right now. Please respect that.
She just rolled her eyes and walked away. She's very heartless. And I never knew that after my husband passed away, my life would take a dreadful turn. The burden of grief weighed heavy on my heart. But little did I know that my late husband's family would add more to my suffering. I mean, they have always been my source of struggle, but this time it has doubled. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law revealed their truest colors, showing a level of abuse and control that I never could have imagined. When my husband was alive, they only gaslight me and control our finances, but now they have truly crossed the line. As if losing my husband wasn't enough, I soon found myself at their mercy. Sheena and Lori gained control of our entire estate, claiming it as their own. They treated me as nothing more than a servant, expecting me to work tirelessly to provide for their every want and need. To add insult to injury, they would introduce me as their maid to their guests and friends, stripping away any dignity I had left. Then came the fateful day when Lori, the epitome of greed, announced her engagement to a wealthy man, the one that she met at Bali, using my husband and my money. And now that my husband is gone, it was clear that they were only using the man for his money, another victim, and the thought of their manipulative motives sickened me to my core. Little did they know that this wedding would become the stage of my ultimate revenge. As their servant, because that's what they call me now, a maid and worthless woman, they tasked me with planning Lori's wedding, unaware that their plan would ultimately backfire. As I delved into the preparation, I stumbled upon the truth hidden beneath their deceit. Their true intentions were exposed, and I couldn't allow their charade to continue. I overheard another conversation between Sheena and Lori, and this time I caught it on record. Good thing you made that guy fall in love with you. Now that your brother is gone, we won't worry about how to get money. Good job, love. Lori giggled. He is so easy to fool, Mommy. He liked me immediately, and look at us now. We are getting married. It's time to steal that bag. Both of them laughed. You are just me, honey. Keep on doing that. I almost threw up as I listened to their sick conversation. They are twisted. The day of the wedding arrived, and as the guests gathered to witness this sham of a union, I mustered up all my courage. Standing before them, I took the microphone and laid bare their wickedness for all to see. I revealed their ulterior motives, exposing their greed and manipulations to the world. The shock and disbelief on their faces were priceless, and for a fleeting moment I felt a sense of triumph. At that moment, I took back my power. I refused to be their slave, their money-making machine. I had suffered enough at their hands, and it was time for them to face the consequences of their actions. The revelation at the wedding party marked a turning point in my life, where I reclaimed my dignity and vowed to never allow anyone to mistreat me again. As the echoes of my words reverberated through the room, I saw the facade of my mother-in-law and sister-in-law crumble. Their carefully constructed world of lies and manipulation came crashing down, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. From that day forward, I vowed to live my life on my terms, free from their toxic influence. While the pain of losing my husband will forever remain, I am grateful for the strength and courage that emerged from the ashes of my suffering. I became the protagonist of my own story, refusing to be a pawn in their game any longer. And as I walked away from that wedding party, head held high, I knew that my revenge had been served. Walking away from the chaos and deceit that had consumed my life for far too long, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. No longer would I allow myself to be controlled and abused by my manipulative in-laws. I had taken a stand, exposing their true nature to the world, and it was a liberating feeling. In the aftermath of the wedding, I began to rebuild my life. It wasn't easy, as the scars of the past still lingered, but I was determined to create a future for myself that was free from their toxic grip. I sought support from friends and sought therapy to heal the emotional wounds that had been inflicted upon me. As time passed, I regained my self-confidence and rediscovered my worth. I focused on my well-being, nurturing my physical and mental health. I found solace in activities that brought me joy, and gradually the shadows of my past started to fade away. The legal battle that followed was arduous, but necessary. I fought tooth and nail to reclaim what was rightfully mine. With the help of a skilled attorney, I channeled the unjust claims my mother-in-law and sister-in-law had made on our property. It was a lengthy process, but justice prevailed, and I regained control over my husband's estate. The court victory not only restored my financial security, but also served as a powerful reminder of the strength I possessed. No longer would I allow myself to be pushed around and taken advantage of. I had learned the importance of standing up for myself and asserting my rights. Through this journey, I discovered my resilience and capacity for growth. I channeled my experiences into advocacy work, supporting others who had faced similar hardships. I became a voice for those who had been silenced, sharing my story and shedding light on the dark reality that many endure behind closed doors. As the years went by, my relationship with my late husband's family remained strained. While I harbored no ill towards them, I had made the conscious decision to distance myself from their toxicity. I focused on surrounding myself with a chosen family, individuals who uplifted and supported me unconditionally. Looking back, I realized that the wedding had catalyzed change. It was a turning point that set me on a path of self-discovery and empowerment. The revenge I sought wasn't about inflicting pain upon others, but rather about reclaiming my own life and finding peace within myself. Today, I stand tall, a survivor who has emerged from the depths of despair. The wounds of the past may still be visible, but they no longer define me. I have grown stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. My journey continues, and as I forge ahead, I carry with me the lessons learned from the darkness. I embrace each new day as an opportunity to create a life filled with love, compassion, and authenticity. And in doing so, I honor the memory of my late husband, finding solace in the knowledge that I am living a life true to myself on my terms.